Okay, hello everybody, welcome to the Eternal Spoiler Breakdown. Oh man, Eternal News Breakdown is probably the correct way to put it. My name is Pojo, and today we're going to be talking just briefly about the new Mulligan rule that they have introduced. It's going to be live in the test tournament in, I think, just a very, very short period of time. So there is a new Mulligan for Eternal that they are testing. It should probably be live with like some of the new release stuff, but it's not going to be out, I think, until... I think they're currently testing it in the test tournament. And so on Friday, you're going to be able to sign up in the event and get the new Mulligan, and we're going to see how that new Mulligan plays. The way it works is we have our current Mulligan, which is pretty generous. Like, it's actually significantly more generous than the Magic Mulligan. And the way it works is your initial hand has a guaranteed no 0 power, no 7 power hand with just 7 random cards. And when you mull that hand, you get a new hand of 7 cards with a guaranteed 2, 3, or 4 power and a 33% chance of each. Now, the way that the extra mulligan is going to work is that after you draw that hand of cards, you get to draw a 6-card hand if you still don't think that your hand has the capacity to win a game or really like even play a game. So 6-card hands do have a significantly lower win rate than 7-card hands just by nature. Like, the Magic Mulligan is kind of notoriously a bit of a trap like this. Like, it's really, really hard to win games with 6-card hands, or it's not super hard, but the rate is lower than you would expect, and it's often like people are more likely to take 6-card hands and like generally get into trouble as a result of this. So this is like a desperation hand where you get like some amount of just ridiculous nonsense happening. It is if you get the 2 influence of the colors that you don't want in your 2, 3, or 4 card hand, then you redraw here to draw 6 cards. So what does this mean for the game? Well, it's generally a good mulligan, can be a lot better for aggro hands, especially anything that's trying to get like a combo or some sort of interesting setup where you are trying to get like a specific array of cards. You don't usually want to multi-6 for like a variety of reasons, but if your deck has very, very reliable aggressive hands and you can consistently get those hands over and over again, then having the ability to just remull a hand that ends up just not quite working can be quite a bit better for certain aggro setups and can be quite a bit better for these like particular types of games. I think overall it won't like super impact the mulligan setup. Like it will be good for like especially extremely talented players, but I don't recommend that you take the mulligan most of the time. Now, what this is really good for is the draft sealed and like generally limited environment, anywhere where you don't have the ability to build good fixers into your deck. If you're not running like enough banners or crests or those types of things, and you just like consistently can't get your influence together, like if you're playing these types of modes, then you're much more likely to have basically games that are not non-games. Like, you won't get screwed on influence, and you won't run into those problems where you basically just draw a bad hand and then you redraw it and then you get a hand that's like 2 justice and 5 primal cards. This is the kind of thing that I think is like really, really interesting for draft, and one of the things that I think we'll probably be seeing as a result of draft being changed, or as a result of the mulligan being changed, is that if this gets implemented, the chance of actually getting a 7-0 in draft is going to go up dramatically, because my impression of draft thus far has been that while you often do get beat by other players with good decks, if you have a really, really, really good deck and you manage to actually get like the perfect draft going on, you'll often still lose a game just to like sort of bad influence. I'd say it's about a 1 in 10 chance, which means that you're pretty likely to hit it in the course of 7 games and 3 losses. So like, yeah, I would say that like in particular, like this is something where like the draft environment and the sealed environment are going to be a lot more fun as a result of this mulligan, and the mulligan should be applied like system-wide. It won't be like specific to any modes. So I think that, yeah, that's something that's going to be really, really cool, and it'll make like sealed and draft games more reliable, and you'll see sort of people who have like really, really good draft or sealed decks, or who are like really, really good at deck building, just have a better time with this kind of thing. Like, high skill players will probably benefit the most from these types of mulligans. Yeah, I would say again that like the main thing to remember here is that 6 power hands are not like great. You shouldn't take them most of the time, and if you have like a okay to average hand on your first mulligan, probably don't go for the second mulligan. Like, this is definitely the desperation move. You should only be trying for a third mulligan if you have a very, very specific combo that you want to execute. When this mull goes live, we will probably try and play a lot of our first turn kill deck and see if we can actually get that deck to win a couple of games. It's not terribly likely, but it does increase the odds of the victory by just a little bit, so we'll be trying to get that first turn kill. It's never been achieved in Eternal before, but I think with the new mulligan it might be a little bit more amenable. Yeah, so that's basically all my thoughts on the mulligan. It's just a pretty short breakdown, but I do think that, like, with the enhanced mulligan, we are going to have a better draft and sealed environment. We're going to have a better limited environment. The main thing is that it is, like, a little bit harder for new players to pick up. It's a trickier decision. It's basically adding skill to Eternal and adding, like, difficult, like, risk analysis to Eternal. And it actually does worry me a little bit when you do that kind of thing, just because, like, if you have, like, new players, like, making the wrong decisions about mulligans very frequently, then that can be an issue. But since Eternal has such great power protection, since it already guarantees that your first and second hands are going to be pretty good, I think the possibility of a third hand is, like, something that people are less likely to take, but also something that people are more likely to use in a situation where their hand would otherwise be basically unplayable. And since people do not like the current mulligan, people generally don't like mulligans at all because they want their hands to be perfect all of the time. Yeah, this is something that I think should improve the play experience, but it could, like, also decrease the win rate of players who like to make bad decisions. So that's my thoughts on it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Have a really good evening. And to the Twitch folks,